Okay, let's say you want to do PowerPoint and you've never done a PowerPoint before. I'm just going to cover the basics of this today. If you're a real professional with PowerPoint or you're great at it, this probably isn't going to be any use to you. But if you're in your course and they tell you have to do a PowerPoint and you've never done one before, this is the video for you. This is just going to show you what PowerPoint is and how to get started on using it. So first off, I'm going to go over here to my computer. You'll probably have some version of this. Let's look up PowerPoint. There it is right there. There's the app. I'm going to open this up. Again, we're just doing basic stuff here. Okay, blank presentation. So when I opened that up, I just clicked blank presentation to open this up. You can add all sorts of formats and designs and things over here that you want. Okay, if you see something over here, you could start off with it. I'm just going to start off kind of doing this blank, and then I'll add design later. Okay. My big presentation. I think I already have one called this, but we'll just go with that. And then this depends on what the requirements for your course or whatever you're doing are. Put the date in here. And this depends on what format you're using or whatever. So I'm just going to show you just the basics. You can figure out exactly what you want to put in here. Let's say this is your title page here. Okay. Now the thing that is cool, there's a lot of different things you could do if you wanted to start doing a design with this. I could go up here to design. I could choose one of these up here. Like this right here. Looks kind of neat. Adds a little style to it. Or if I want to go back here, and I like these. They make these nice suggestions over here in the designer. I probably wouldn't go with an animated one because things can go wrong with that. I've had experiences with things going wrong with those presentations. I'll just choose this here. And you can change the font on it if you don't like that. Oh, I kind of like this one even better, maybe above it. That animated one is cool. It's really cool, but just beware, sometimes things don't display right when you're making live presentations. So I would, wait, let's go back here. And if you get stuck like anything, you can click Control-Z to back out. Okay, now we're back at the original. Go to my design again. I'll just go with this for now. Oh, it's making my suggestions again. See, it's like any computer program. It's kind of finicky. But these are the kinds of things you will experience. So I'm just going to do this to show you these kinds of things can happen. What's this one look like? Yeah, I'll leave it for now. Okay, let's say we want to add a new slide now. This is our title page. You right-click right here, and you click New Slide. Okay? I'm going to type up here, these will be my main points. Okay? Then I click down here, point number 1. Just to make this easy, I'm going to copy this because I'm just going to do standard today. Point number 2, point number 3, point. Let's go here, point number 5, point number 4. You obviously are going to type in whatever your actual points are. Now, right now, so we can look at our show. Anytime you want to see what your show is really going to look like when you present, you can click right here with the slideshow. Okay? This is what it will really look like. Then I'll click the down arrow to go to my next slide. Now the problem with this is that's really, I mean, it's fine, but when I'm giving the talk, I don't want it to say point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. I want to make point number 1. Then I want point number 2 to come up on the board. Then I want point number 3 to come up on the board, etc. So I'm going to click Escape now, the ESC key on your keyboard. So I want to go back to my, what I call the workbook mode. I think it's just called normal mode, but I call it workbook. But it's really normal. But I think of it as the workbook. Escape. There we go. We're back here. How you do this, if I want these to come in on their own, is I click see, it's transitions. It's hard to, it's either animations or transitions. Let me see. If I highlight these, yeah, it's actually animations. So for these points that come in, transitions is something else I'm going to show you. That's between pages. But we click on animations. Point number 1, I want that to float in. Okay. And I usually use float, but you can use all these different ones. There's wipe. Yeah, wipe is, I don't know, that's too fast. I'm going to go shape on that one. So it'll kind of fade in that way. I'll do the wheel. There's all these different things you can do. Random bars. And there's all sorts of different effects you can add to these. Let's scroll down here a little bit. We'll get really fancy and spin it in. That maybe is a bit much. What about teeter? Or, oh, that's a bit much. How about bounce? That's a cool one. There we go. Now, depending on what kind of presentation, you don't want to get too zany. But now let's see what that looks like. Let's click here on slideshow. And I'm clicking the down arrow on my keyboard to go to the next slide. And see, and I'm going to go back here. So now this is how the page shows up. And for my first point, I'll be talking about this theory and how this shows up in the novel. Down arrow. The next point I'm going to make is the symbolism. And I want to talk for a while on that. When I'm ready to move on, then we'll be moving on to the archetypes that are used in this novel. Then I'm going to talk about other novels that are similar, that inspired the author. And finally, we're going to have a little fun and play a game where we answer some questions on this, or whatever you want to say. But it's a better presentation if these points come in as you're talking. So we'll click escape. Now, another problem we had here, not really a problem, but when we're in the slideshow mode, bam, you know, this is cool. But going back and forth between these pages, and I click the up arrow to get back. You can click the up arrow to get to the slide before in slideshow mode. Okay, so let me escape. Let's get a transition here. So between these pages now, for the second page, I clicked transitions here. You can have these different effects. So this is where, that's how it will show up. Or fade. Does it fade in? That's nice. Or push. Split. That's cool. Reveal. That's kind of neat. So if I wanted that, I would just leave that on there. And then when we go to slideshow mode, this is what that would look like. Again, I'm clicking right down here, slideshow mode. There you go. Isn't that cool? So now it's going to fade back here to my title page. This is what it would look like. Now, if you're actually going to be presenting this live, pay attention to how long that took, because that might be awkward. I've made some presentations before where I get really fancy with these things, and it gets awkward as we're kind of sitting around waiting for this to happen. So, like, that might be a bit much. So if I thought that was too much, I would just go back here, and what about fade? That's quicker. Or random bars is pretty quick. Now, if we go back to the slideshow, that's a little quicker, because that might be a little awkward to sit there and wait for that thing to fade in the way it was. Okay, let's do escape. Okay, if you wanted to add another slide here, I just right-clicked there and new slide. Okay, and then you can do all the same tricks you did to transition, but you have to add these to every page. Okay, now we're back at home here. So I think this is, sometimes you'll find fancier designs here over and on the side. There we go. There's the designer over here, which can give you suggestions. And I a lot of times really like the design suggestions. That's really neat. Like, this is kind of, that's a nice shade there. They make all kinds of really cool suggestions. And again, I clicked designer up here. When I was home, and at any point you can click designer and get these suggestions. Oh, that's kind of neat. It's kind of nice. And there are things I wouldn't have thought of. So these are really the basics of PowerPoint. Let's cover one more thing. Again, these are just the basics. Let me go to this page. Let's say I wanted to add a picture of Super Library Man. Okay, I wanted to put a picture in here. Now you can go down here, and they have stock images you can add. I'm not very impressed with them. They come up. Oh, they're already giving me design things over here. Do you see that? That's cool. Pictures, What I usually do, just because you could do it from here, I usually just go up here to Insert, but you can do it from these little icons down here too. Insert pictures from this device. I have these saved on this computer. That's what that means. So let me go to my desktop. There's my Mr. Library image. Okay, that's cool. Now, you can grab this on the corner and make this bigger if you want. You can move it around. You can grab it and move it around. Let's look at what design suggestions they have. Okay, this, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff. That's the, I don't need that. I'm going to delete that. Okay. Now let's look. That's a better design suggestion. Oh, this one's kind of neat. That's kind of cool. Okay. Anyway, so those are just some basic things you can do. You can do with PowerPoint. Now let's save it. So just like you would with a Word document, File, Save As, Browse. I'm going to go to my desktop. I actually had this saved, but I'm going to save this again. My big presentation, point 2. Okay. Now if I go to my desktop, there's my big presentation, point 2 right there. I can move that around. There's my AI image that I put in there for Mr. Super Library Man. Okay, well, that's the basics of how you do a PowerPoint. And again, this is just to get you started. There's certainly much more advanced videos out there of all kinds of cool stuff you can do with PowerPoint, but this is just to get you started if you've never done it before. Okay, thanks a lot. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye-bye.